Minneapolis, St. Paul, The Fan.
It's a wild Wednesday on The Fan, sponsored by Jim Beam, family made and crafted, and we want to send you to the game. Caller 13 right now will win a pair of tickets to see your Minnesota Wild take on the Washington Capitals Tuesday, January 23rd. 800-320-5326 right now.
Trimble in the shotgun. Here's the snap. Bryce Young looking around, waiting. Throws the middle. Got his man Adam Thielen inside the 35, down to the 31-yard line. Time winding down. Down to 1 second to go. They get the ball. Spice. And do they have a chance for a field goal try?
It was down to 0. The clock is down to 0.
Pass hit the ground with 0 on the clock. The game is over.
And there is your Christmas Eve dagger.
Yes, Wayne Larrivee, the dagger, a longtime play-by-play voice for the Green Bay Packers, joins us now. Wayne, can you remember the quadruple zeros on the clock? A dagger? What a strange ending to the game. They were charging at you, weren't they?
Yeah, but in that last drive, they got the ball with no timeouts, and I want to say 19 seconds, something like that. At any rate, the Packers were taking away the sideline stuff, so they completed 2 passes over the middle, and the pass to Thielen in the end there was probably too far downfield because it didn't give them an opportunity to get to the line and spike it in time. I hesitated because you know what those officials always do. The scoreboard clock has one time on it, and the officials on the field have another time. And so I figured there is no way they're going to let this thing go to 0. And yet they did.
Well, was that a fun one for you to call, or you and Larry and John Kuhn on the sideline? And the reason I ask is because it was 33-30, all right, and you're winning by multiple scores. Then Carolina comes charging at you, and Bryce Young catches fire. On the other side of that is, the offense going 3 and out and the defense giving up some chunk plays. But nevertheless, high-scoring game, fun finish, your team wins. Cool stadium, cool vantage point from which to call it. I would imagine you had a wonderful time calling it.
We did, and it was a wonderful day, too. It was beautiful. It was sunny, temperatures in the 60s. It was just a gorgeous North Carolina afternoon. But the one thing, the concern, of course, for us was that, again, the defense had a second-half meltdown. And I'm just running some numbers right now. I mean, just that Carolina game, they scored 20 points in the second half. They had 240 yards in the second half. 185 passing yards in the second half, 16 of 20 and 2 touchdowns in that second half against the Packers defense. And that's been the concern. The last 3 weeks has been the Green Bay defense, and it continues to be a concern.
Yeah, and I was chatting with somebody about that yesterday, and not having, gotten that far down the road on it yet. Jair Alexander comes back. Stokes now has been back for a little bit. I understand the safety situation probably is not preferred, but with Alexander and Stokes back, is that surprising, those numbers that you just laid out?
Well, first off, Jair's been banged up all season, and even when he's played, he hasn't been the Jair Alexander of last New Year's Day that took Justin Jefferson, locked him up, and threw away the key. He's not been anything close to that. So, for whatever reason, banged up, injured, all this stuff, he just comes back last week for the first time in weeks, maybe 7 weeks, I want to say, or something like that, and he's playing in his hometown, and he was okay in the game, not great, not horrible at all. Eric Stokes spent, a year and a half away from football, essentially, trying to come back from his injuries. And I think they're just trying to play him down the stretch here to see what they've got. You know what I mean?
Right.
He's not been as good as Carrington Valentine. Let me put it that way. And yet he played the whole game at Carolina, and unfortunately, gave up a couple of touchdowns to DJ Chark.
Well, Wayne, I watched a bunch of Jordan Love plays since the 4 sacks against the Vikings, and he I would imagine would be considered not at his very best in that game against Brian Flores' defense, just very indecisive. And 16 touchdowns, 3 interceptions since the Packers lost to the Vikings at Lambeau Field, and he just seems more calm in the pocket than even a month and a half, 2 months ago. Is he taking really positive steps right now?
Yeah, PA, absolutely. He's hitting the passes downfield he wasn't hitting earlier in the year. And the thing that I like about what he's doing is even when it was going bad early in the year, it wasn't like this was a deer in headlights. To me, it looked like somebody was still kind of figuring out everything about the game, the speed of the game, the pressure he would be under in the game and that type of thing. And, we've seen now some very blitz-happy type defenses. Kansas City really brings it. Tampa Bay brings the blitz a lot. And yet I think Jordan Love has held up very well recently against blitzing defenses. New York Giants blitz a lot under Wink Martindale. And this kid has been very good. He's just been solid down the stretch. He's thrown one interception in like the last 4 games. So, yeah, I mean, he's matured. He's come along, and it looks like he's the guy they can move forward with.
And moving forward with somebody, Wayne Larrivee, the Dagger, one of the great team play-by-play announcers in the history of the NFL, nice enough to join 9 to noon for the border battle this Sunday night. Aaron Jones, he looked great. He looked great against the Carolina Panthers. He looked super happy too, just like happy to be out there doing his thing. Do you think they re-sign him next season?
Good question. And a multi-million-dollar question as well. Earlier this year, he spent most of the year rehabbing from different injuries. The hamstring injury primarily suffered on a 51-yard pass play in Chicago opening day. Came back 2 weeks ago against Tampa Bay, showed some of that burst. There are two kinds. Aaron Jones is showtime, and when he's showtime, that takes the Packers offense to a different level. He came back, gave them a couple of good runs early in the Tampa Bay game, and then they you could tell they had him on a pitch count, and they restricted him the rest of the day. And then last week, he was just 100%, and it was the best we've seen of Aaron Jones since the opener, and maybe the only game since the opener where he was showtime. And yeah, he looked great. He looked great on the artificial turf. He looked fast. He looked fresh. Everything. And I think he was obviously very happy to be out there playing pain-free.
And I know he's under contract next year, but I mean, it's a $17 million cap hit with an $11 million base. So, I mean, that's pretty much why I went down that road, just wondering what's next with him. I've always been a fan from afar. And, for the game calling depth chart, if you're interested, the last time the Minnesota Vikings allowed a rush of 50 yards or more, it was December of 2019. It was Aaron Jones with a 56-yard touchdown. So we've gone, I think it's 69 consecutive, not allowing one of those runs all the way back to Showtime. How is Quay Walker's second season going, Wayne?
It's been interesting. He's an interesting study. He'll make a lot of tackles. He's got that athletic ability. He's a guy that you look at and you say, gosh, this guy, boy, if they could start blitzing him through the A-gap, he can get home. But he's not, I think he's still learning the game, PA. To be honest with you, I think he is still learning what it takes to compete at this level. And I think he competes really well, but learning what it takes to win at this level, in his individual matchups and that type of thing. Leads the team in tackles. Rangy linebacker, has had some injury issues this year a little bit, but nonetheless, just a guy that I think what you're looking for is the instinct to play that position, and I think he's developing that instinct to go forward and become a great player. They drafted him to be one of those guys on the inside that can cover, sideline to sideline and north and south, getting after the quarterback as well. And so that's the thing they're trying to develop in him.
Oh, last one, Dagger, and thanks for the time. Is Green Bay's record at 7-8 about what you thought it would be heading into the season, or has it been disappointing through 15?
For me?
Yeah.
My opinion? Yeah. My opinion, it's exactly what I thought it would be.
Right.
I thought they were 6 to 8 wins this year. That's what I thought they'd be, based on all the youth they had, especially on offense. Now, they've had some major problems on defense. I knew the defense wasn't going to be legendary, but we all thought the defense would be a little bit better this year than it has been. And it's been primarily a second half meltdown in the last 3 games, and it's been primarily the last 6 or 7 weeks where they've struggled somewhat on defense, once they got out of that 4 or 5 game streak where they played really well. So they're about where I thought they'd be. The way they got there is a little different. I didn't realize the quarterback was going to be quite this good. I didn't realize they'd be able to do this with all those rookies at the skill positions and a running game that really they've had to cobble together due to injuries.
Tell Larry I say hi, and I look forward to seeing you guys Sunday night in that expansive press box in the food eating area. God bless you, my brother. I'll talk to you soon.
Sounds great. All the best to you guys, and Happy New Year.
Thank you, buddy. Wayne Larrivee, and there goes your dagger. Vikings and Packers, 7:20, Sunday night football, and it'll take place at U.S. Bank Stadium. Each team 7-8. And this is, as Dave Sinekin put it yesterday with the border battle and Packer review, this is a playoff elimination night. It's the loser can't go to the playoffs. And that's going to be fun. Look forward to calling it. Chris Finch, coach of the Minnesota Timberwolves, was nice enough to join 9 to noon right out of the gate today. And if you missed that interview, we're going to play it back for you after Max and I chat a little bit about the Timberwolves when we continue on FM 100.3. The kids call it KFAN.
KFAN, the Fan.
Join Corey Cove tonight at the Buff in Big Lake for Coors Light Hockey Night. Stop by from 7 to 9 to watch the hockey game and play hockey trivia for a chance to win sweet tickets to the January 4th game. More info at KFAN.com. Keyword calendar.
You got me. What's this?
You don't know this one? You don't know this one, PA?
No, you got me. What's this?
This is Sylvia Striplin. This is a famous Biggie sample that I was like, I just always dug the beat, and I was like, what is the sample for this one? This is a Sylvia Striplin, You Can't Turn Me Away, 1981.
Oh, okay. She has I think she has a song called like "Give Me Your Love" or "Give Me Something" that I'm more familiar with as the obscure KMAX continues 9 to noon. It's KMAX, where we maximize everything possible on air, online, on demand, and on fire. And at KMAX, as we like to remind you, it's always soft and warm. It's the quiet storm. KMAX. Fire it up. 1, 2, 3, and hitting out. Hey. It's got the little.
And you're totally right, by the way. She does have a song called "Give Me Your Love."
Yeah, that's what it is. It's not "Gimme," it's "Give Me Your Love." Yeah, it ain't bad. It's okay. Are you familiar with? How familiar are you with Hyman? I mean, Phyllis Hyman.
Yeah, I'm familiar with Phyllis Hyman, not so much just the Hyman, but I'm familiar with Phyllis Hyman for sure.
Yep, Phyllis Hyman. She got some soft and warm, the quiet storm.
Does.
Tina Marie, you can go down that road, right?
Oh yeah, Tina Marie, man, she's one of my favorites. Like we talked about before, I had no idea what she looked like based on her voice. She has a lot of soul, man. Yeah, obviously.
Well, what do you mean?
You just sometimes you hear a voice and you
what do you mean?
You think
let me guess. You thought you were disappointed or surprised when you learned Bobby Caldwell was white.
I didn't know Bobby Caldwell was white for like at least one of my favorite Tupac songs is called "Do for Love," and it samples Bobby Caldwell. You do anything for love or whatever the song is called. I had no idea. Very, very few times am I fooled like that. I had no idea. Man, that guy has just as much soul as anybody else.
What about Michael McDonald?
Oh, I mean, come on. Are you kidding me? Yeah. I mean, yeah, no.
But I mean, when you first heard Michael McDonald, all right, now we got like classic rock songs that can cross over to R&B, like, maybe not What a Fool Believes, but the Michael McDonald ones, certainly not like China Grove or Long Train Runnin' or Black Water. Those are terrific songs, but they're not Michael McDonald as the front man. So I'm more talking like Taking It to the Streets a little bit, but more like Real Love or I Keep Forgetting or It Keeps You Running. See, songs like that, if you haven't heard songs like that, then I think you would love them, man. I don't know if you've heard them. Well, there you go.
Oh, yeah. No,
that's Regulator. Right?
Yeah.
I heard a song this morning, Childish Gambino, a song called Redbone.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't know because Childish Gambino has some slow numbers that I really, really like. And let's go on with this. Hey. Keep things will never be the same again. Yeah, that is such a sweet backbeat.
Yeah, it is.
Who was it? Warren G? It was Warren G. Regulator?
Yeah, Warren G. Regulator.
Yeah, that sounds sweet.
That's so cool.
But Redbone, I think it's Childish Gambino.
No, it is, yep. The Bootsy Collins interpolation, yeah.
I'd rather be with you. Yeah. I'd rather be with you. Yeah. I'm like listening going, what is that? Oh, wait, that's Bootsy. I'd rather be with you, which, kind of made its Twin Cities debut, at least on FM, with 9 to noon over the course of years. And likewise for some, Michael McDonald, who does things like this. 3-2 bass. That song is so sweet, man.
Oh, man. Yeah, this is really cool. I don't think I've ever heard this version of it. I know the sample, but I never heard this version of it. This is sweet, though.
You've never heard this?
I don't think I have.
Hey. Yeah. I think this is when Michael went solo. So I think this was our first solo albums. But nah, man, it's about, God gifting you in unique fashion. And then, the work ethic and everything that goes into it. And that's Michael. I mean, he sounded unique. And the Doobie Brothers, they actually either, like somebody who sang, either died or got kicked out of the band. And Michael McDonald was playing, I believe it was bars and small clubs in the Bay Area, San Francisco, Oakland, stuff like that. And somebody, or the Los Angeles area, but it was California, and somebody from the Doobie Brothers, was a fan, and they used to go watch him and stuff, and, then they needed a singer, and they bring him into the Doobie Brothers, and, you got my man, I can't remember his name, with the longer hair, who plays the guitar, singing like Blackwater and Long Train Running and stuff like that.
John McPhee.
Yeah, thank you. Yep. Jesus Is Just All Right With Me. That was another massive hit for them. And then Michael came in and did What a Fool Believes, Taking It to the Street. Real Love might have been with them. And it just changed the whole thing. I mean, they just really, really took off because they were multifaceted. I think that's really, really cool. Speaking of really cool and multifaceted, I don't know if you watched or how much you watched last night of the Timberwolves and the OKC, but did you watch any?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I try not to miss any Timberwolves games.
Cool.
For sure.
Yeah, and me either. But I mean, life happens.
Yeah,
so therefore,
exactly.
you miss some, or you don't get a chance to watch. I watched that bad boy almost wire to wire last night, and not only because Finch was joining 9 to noon today, for some below the surface type takes and stuff like that, but nevertheless, I mean, OKC was balling last night. I think that's maybe the first time I've watched them this season where they've got some changes going on. Like Josh Giddey doesn't play as much as he used to. Lou Dort is now getting some guard forward minutes and is kind of pulling from Giddey. SGA. How about Gilgeous Alexander and that little hesitation, that stop and go thing in the key? How good is that?
It's so good. And he led a team that was just absolutely on fire last night. 18 threes and 60% from the field. Wow. You just can't beat that. The Wolves have the best defense in the league, but there's nothing you can do when a team is shooting that hot. You alluded to it earlier when you talked to Timberwolves head coach Chris Finch, but there's just not a whole lot you can do. And the Wolves, it's not very often that you've seen them in shootouts this season because their defense has been so good that they don't really get invited to a whole lot of shootouts. But last night they were in a shootout and they just got outshot by a really talented Thunder team that's been top 5 in the Western Conference all season.
Whenever, I watch or I hear about the OKC, the Oklahoma City Thunder, where it's the only professional sports team in town. They're packed every single game. It's super festive. And it's, like a really tough ticket to get at times in that town. But every time I hear about them or I watch them I can't help but think to like 10, 11, 12 years ago, man, they had James Harden, Russell Westbrook, and Kevin Durant on the same team. And I'm pretty sure they made it to the NBA finals. But, I mean, how do you not win a title if you have those guys together? You know what I mean?
It's unbelievable. And, yeah, they lost. They actually lost in LeBron James' first NBA title win. They lost against the Miami Heat. And they had a 3. I believe it was after James Harden had already moved on. But it was Russell Westbrook and Kevin Durant. They had a 3-1 lead on the Warriors back in 2016. The year that the Warriors eventually made the comeback, and then the Warriors subsequently blew a 3-1 lead against the Cavaliers in the NBA Finals. So that Thunder team was really good. It just never quite got to the mountaintop like they should have. But man, those fans in OKC are so lucky because they got a real squad this year. And guess what? They have, not joking, PA, something like 15 first-round picks over the next 6 or 7 years. They completely reinvented trusting the process and retooling, and they're already exceeding expectations this year. Like I said, they've been a top team in the Western Conference all year, and they're only going to get better. I mean, even around this time last year, there was talks about where is Shai Gilgeous-Alexander going to go? What is this Thunder team going to do? And everybody, of course, is looking at all the picks and thinking that they'll be better down the line. I don't think anyone thought that this Thunder team would be able to put it together like they did this year. And last night specifically, they were all over the place defensively. They forced the Wolves to have 21 turnovers and got 23 points off those 21 turnovers. You know how much the Thunder won by? 23 points. That's the difference in the game right there.
And Chris Finch, coach of the Minnesota Timberwolves, and yours truly, chat weekly, and we chatted a lot about that. I think the conversation began with me, with the coach, being like, hey, thanks for the time and good morning. Here it is. Our opening song was Work to Do by Average White Band Coach Finch. And it's been a wonderful season, but off that OKC game into Dallas, I would imagine you guys got a little work to do, right? And good morning.
Hey, good morning, PA. Yeah, no, we got to reestablish our defense. We weren't very good defensively last night, and as you know, that's been everything for us this year. And last night we just didn't really have enough fight in that defense.
Yeah, they shot 60% with just 11 turnovers. I mean, it's tough to beat that, right? Or, Coach Chris, is that too much of a convenient lament?
Well, I mean, no, it is. I mean, particularly we turned over 23 times ourselves. I mean, I thought the other end of the floor offensively, we spent the entire night fighting the game. Really shouldn't have been that hard. We took a lot of hard shots. We plowed our way into traffic when there was nothing there. Sometimes we go through these periods where, I like to refer to it as everybody kind of playing their own game, everybody thinking that they can, kind of get themselves going or need to get themselves going. That's always a tough way to make a living in the NBA. So.
And as a coach, I mean, I'm glad you said that. How do you handle that? Because after the game, you said, paraphrasing, quote, they decided to fight their own fight, end quote. What does that mean? And like, how do you handle it?
Yeah, I mean, basically, it just, we didn't trust the offense, got to make the simple play. A lot of easy kickouts were there. When we made them, we made shots, and it's one of those things, like when you make the right play of the game, you make the game simple, and you don't fight the defense. You can basically just take what the defense is giving you, and then you stay ready to punish it. It's incredible, like how much easier the game comes. And then if you do that over and over and over again, then the defense is forced to adjust, or they don't adjust, then you find a nice rhythm offensively. But you address these things through film session and just just show it. And I'm really big on showing where we could have gotten better shots. That's one of the things that, I'm always harping on these guys like, hey, this is a good shot. Over here's a great shot, or this is not a good shot. How could we have gotten a better shot for our teammates? So it's not just about like, hey, this is not a good shot. It's like, look at the opportunity cost from this possession. Like, what could it have been? And that's really, to me, like connecting all the dots offensively.
It is for the Thunder, Coach Finch, is Kenrich Williams kind of known as an agitator, or is it just against you guys?
No, that's how he plays all the time. I mean, actually, we had him as a rookie and when I was in New Orleans, an undrafted free agent signing who made our team, just playing that way. Plays the right way, makes the right play, do anything that's asked of him, guard whomever, just makes all the hustle plays. He's carved out a nice little career for himself in the NBA.
Chris Finch, coach of the Minnesota Timberwolves, Dallas at Target Center tomorrow evening, Lakers over the weekend. And this is courtesy of Prize Picks, Daily Fantasy Sports Made Easy, and Second Harvest Heartland and 2harvest.org. Coach, what does one do when Jalen Williams is canning them from 25 and beyond? I mean, when unless you're Dame or Steph, if somebody's shooting from 26 and beyond, you kind of invite it, right?
Well, I mean, I guess you do, but like, I didn't think we did a very good job of putting any of their shooters under enough pressure. Shot contests were really low. It's one thing we're always talking about, no matter what defensive scheme you employ, the NBA defense will oftentimes come down to the level of your shot contestants. And we just didn't have it. We closed out short to guys with, let them have too much space when we switched. They had a lot of space on us just to kind of rise up and shoot over us. And we got, a lazy, half-hearted contest on those guys. And that's not putting an NBA shooter, even an average NBA shooter, under enough duress. And it's been mapped out. It's been proven. You put a shooter under duress and their shooting percentages will drop significantly, sometimes up to almost 10%, which makes all the difference in the world when you're trying to, get stops against elite players.
When I thought it was interesting in the second quarter when they went super small and super small and you had Karl Anthony Towns out there and was it imperative to isolate Cat due to the size difference, or was that kind of the decide to fight your own fight?
I think that was more of the fight your own fight. I think we know in that situation they're going to come double. And we need to invite those doubles and make the right play and, swing it around and free up good shots for our teammates. But there's also other things we could do too. We could also stay in the flow of the offense. They were going to be in heavy switching lineups. We like to try to stay in the flow and punish those switches as they come, not just try to go right at them all the time, just because that way, you're playing into the teeth of the defense, and the defense knows what it's trying to do too at that point in time. So again, that's a great example, I thought, of just like fighting the game a little bit too much.
And Karl on the dribble drive sometimes reminds me of watching Cousins run for a first down. I mean, it's not aesthetically pleasing, but can be mostly effective. What do you think of all that?
Yeah, he definitely is one of the best attacking big men in the league off the bounce. He does it at a high rate and draws a lot of contact. I think he gets probably fouled a lot more than it's called. The interesting thing about a lot of those drives is, if they're perimeter players driving, the level of contact is before they reward a foul doesn't reach the level of contact when Cat drives. Cat creates a lot of contact. There's a lot of contact there. So it gets a bit noisy when you're watching it, but yeah, it's one of the things that we like for him to do, particularly from that trail spot, and then it's all about making the right play when you do drive. If there's multiple guys at the rim, then you got to make the kick out. If they don't have size at the rim where you have a clear path, then you lay it in. Or if none of that is there, then you just get us to the next action. So, so I didn't think we did enough of that last night. I didn't think we did enough of kind of getting to the heart of the defense and making the next play. not just Cat, but everybody.
And when you got a 7-footer and say he's checked by a 6'8" guy, all right, it's too simplistic to say put him on the block, go down there and let him do his thing because he'll be doubled or whatever. But isn't it true that throughout the annals of time, at every level, Chris, littles can really bug bigs in abnormal ways, right?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of ways you can front, you can unsettle. They can come and double. They get up underneath them. There is. They
start slapping.
And I also believe that there is this slight kind of bias that goes on. That the little is allowed to get away with more, just because he's seemingly at a disadvantage. And then it's just about being strong, getting the right angle, and sealing up. And being able to present yourself in a way that's to get the ball to you easily.
Is OKC consistently tricky with its zone defense? I mean, do they shift in and out to confuse players like a 1-2-2? Then it's a man. I mean, they just I couldn't get a hold of their defense last night.
No, they don't play a ton of zone, Paul. What they do is they just all flood the paint.
Yeah.
They don't have a natural rim protector. Holmgren is not, he's got great length, but he hasn't become as impactful as he will at the rim, as he grows and learns and becomes stronger and all that. So what they do is they sell out. They put 5 guys in the paint. They're there early. They dare you to make the right play, to kick it out.
Right.
To draw, an even bigger crowd and then kick it out again and then put them into rotation. I mean, they're taking the bet. And, it's a good one in the NBA. There's a lot of guys who don't want to give the ball up early. They don't want to give it up easy. And they don't want to give it up time and time again. And they're taking the bet that teams, high volume guys are not going to keep making the right plays over and over again.
Time for a couple more with Chris Finch, coach of the Minnesota Timberwolves. Dallas next and here tomorrow night, and they play Cleveland tonight, so they're on a back-to-back. Luka just put 50 on Phoenix. All hands on deck when handling Doncic, right?
Oh, my God, yeah. I mean, he's just, it's a ton of offense he creates for himself and his team. You got to give him multiple looks. There's just no way that you could solve him in one facet, just because he's so good. He's seen it all. Fortunately, we have multiple guys who can go and try to guard him. Jaden McDaniels, has bothered him with his length. It takes a team effort for sure.
So do you give him to Jaden for part or most of it, or is that too simplistic?
Well, I mean, certainly we start with that matchup. I think that's no secret. But Ant will move over and get him. Kyle will take him. Nikhil will certainly take him. So it's really a group effort.
Now the Mavs are best in the NBA with just 11 turnovers per game. What goes into that? Because they play at a faster pace, don't they?
Well, yeah, it's less about their pace than anything. It's mostly the ball's in Luka's hands 80% of the time. Luka's either taking the shot or making the pass that leads to the shot. So in that relationship, there's not a lot of not a lot that can go wrong, if you will. It's Luka draws the defense, he fires it out. It's either a shot for him or somebody else.
Is it dramatically different for them without Kyrie? I mean, they haven't had him for a little while now, and Derrick Jones is in and out with the 3, but he can can it. Kind of like OKC last night. They just got Lively back. He went for 20 and 10. Do they play differently without Kyrie and Luka compared to just Luka running that ship?
Well, they do for sure. Kyrie is an explosive scorer. It gives him another dimension in that. Kyrie is really good at creating his own offense all by himself in space. So you have Luka working the pick and roll, and then you have Kyrie, who also is pretty good in pick and roll, but is exceptional in space. So I remember last year when we were playing them. As an example, we were up big, up 15, 20 or something like that in the fourth, and Kyrie brings him back all by himself just because they just had abandoned pick and roll, and he just starts coming at us, early, coming at us, and ISOs coming at us, in space, and it completely, changed the way that they were playing.
You, my friend, are the best. Safe travels, and best of luck tomorrow night against the Mavs. We'll talk soon, okay? Chris Finch.
Appreciate it, PA. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Chris Finch, weekly 9 to noon. When we return, some massive National Football League news to share on KFAN.
The Fan.
I can't wait until tomorrow.
Well, the Denver Broncos, a suddenly surging Broncos team, nipped us at the wire on that Cortland Sutton thing, and then, a game where turnovers once again foiled KOC's team. Well, the Broncos subsequently cooled off. They got beat rather soundly by the Detroit Lions, and they're struggling a little bit right now. And, the anti-Vike, Sean Payton, coach of the Broncos, he and Russell Wilson, I mean, they're just like yelling at each other on the sideline pretty much every single game. Well, that ain't going to take place unless Russell is yelling to get into the game, because Peyton and the Broncos have announced that they're going to bench Russell Wilson for Jarrett Stidham the final 2 games this season. And I'm looking at ProFootballTalk.com. Florio was on earlier. I'll podcast it after the show if you get the chance. Peyton wouldn't have benched Wilson with 2 games left and lingering playoff hopes if Peyton hadn't already decided not to allow $37 million in injury guarantees to become fully guaranteed in March 2024. And Wilson won't want to keep playing for a coach who benched him. Damn, man, this thing's complicated right now. Florio continues with fences could be mended with a revised but now, I mean, you read previous stories and you got Peyton just low-key, passive-aggressively getting after Russell for lack of communication, and I might have to scale back the playbook, and holy cow. The Mile Get High City right now is a little tense. Max, it's been a treat working with you the last 2 days. Thank you very much for your time, all right?
Thanks, PA. It's always fun being with you, too.
Appreciate you. I'm Paul Allen, back tomorrow with Tom Pelissero from NFL Network, John Hines, coach of the Minnesota Wild, and much more, including Nacho Libre. Talk to you tomorrow at 9. Thank you for listening. I'm Paul Allen. It's 9 to noon at FM 100.3 KFAN.
Podcast today's Paul Allen Show. Back to previous show and interviews by going to the iHeartRadio app or KFAN.com.